the optimum solution is maybe not the best solution.
Yeah, my name is Franz Pfeiffer. I'm a full professor for X-ray physics and also the director of the Munich Institute of Biomedical Engineering here at the Technical University of Munich.
And I'm Reinhard Kienberger. I'm a full professor for laser physics, also at the physics department of the TU Munich. And we are LiCoS. We are providing consulting for high photon energy light sources. They are used for medicine, for imaging, for investigating nuclear physics. And with our expertise, we are providing consulting to build these sources.
So the vision would be to distribute and supply sources that are presently only available at large-scale research facilities to the broad public, so that everybody in the home lab or in the industry floor or in the medical hospital can use these high-power laser and X-ray sources. Yeah, actually, the LiCoS story is a classical bootstrapping story. We started pretty small, actually only thinking about providing consulting initially to other companies, to large-scale research facilities and institutions. But then, one thing got to the other and we got our first contract, and then actually people also wanted more. So now beyond consulting, we're actually also building hardware for a European prestige research project together with a large electron accelerator company in Germany and also a big laser company.
Well, actually, we had one of our biggest customers that we have now here at TU Munich, and they went to our lab and told us we want to have this. So we transformed from consulting to production, and together with the PhD students and postdocs at our chairs, we started to develop this project.
Yeah, so research-wise, we're actually well set up here on campus. We both have our research institutes, but what we really needed here is the embedding into the entrepreneurship activities at GATE and the connection to all these entrepreneurship facilities and support and the mentorship. And GATE really was the right spot because it's very close and it's of course also well known, has a high visibility. So this is the ideal place for us to have an office to start with. And yeah, if you need an office too, please feel free to also apply here at the GATE. Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's actually not the first company. It's actually the third company I've started, and I've always been fascinated by translating the really interesting scientific discoveries that we make in our lab to the outside world, because ultimately it's not helpful if we only discover new science. I think for economy and for society, it's also important to somehow get it onto the street and get it out to the people. And this is, I think, what's really driving me most.
Well, Franz and I, we have complementary expertise. And so it was a more or less logical thing that we worked together and found this company. And my motivation actually is, as a professor, I am used to have knowledge transfer to students, bring knowledge to people, and now we try to transport knowledge to economy. And this is really some fascinating task.
I think we know each other professionally for quite some time, I would say at least 10 years. Yeah. 15 years. And so I think we appreciate each other's expertises and also research achievements. And when it actually got to starting this company, and when we both knew that we needed some complementary expertise, now in my case, Reiny's international expertise in laser physics, then I knew whom to ask to do that. And besides that, I think we get along together quite well, yeah.
Yeah, actually, we have already solved many difficult tasks during our time as principal investigators in a cluster of excellence. So we have really worked together scientifically, and now we thought we would also be a very good team to do this in economy.
Yeah, generally, I'm really driven by seeing the progress in science and how people, in particular students and early stage researchers, attack new problems and then come up with really sometimes exciting new solutions that one might have not even thought about. So this is really, for me, the most interesting and fascinating piece, to witness the progress of science in different fields and to see a steady ongoing of developments and progression and development.
Yeah, I would say without challenges, you don't have success. So sometimes it's hard because you have problems to solve or so, but after this process where you have been successful, it's very satisfying. And this is giving us the power to get on working. Well, I think actually the most tough challenge for us are delivery times. So we have very stiff deadlines in our projects because our partners or customers really have to solve their problems within a certain time. And as you know, world has changed over the last years, and delivery times are really giving us a hard time. And we have to find solutions, to find ways out. And this is, I would say, the toughest point actually in our work. Well, sometimes we can replace components with things that we have that are maybe not exactly fitting to the problem, but we make it fit. Sometimes we have to look for different customers, maybe with some trade-off, and then in the end get the product as we really like to build it.
I think I'm quite a big fan of Steve Jobs. I have looked at the Apple story and the ups and downs many times, and yeah, from a professional perspective, but also from a personal perspective, he's quite a figure, and I think it's quite interesting how he managed to go through different challenges in life, personally, but also professionally.
Well, I would say as an Austrian, I have to be a fan of Didi Mateschitz. He was the founder of Red Bull, and the interesting thing is that he was not only concentrating on his company, but had so many different activities around it that made his company well known in the whole world. And I think this is also quite some fun fact behind.
I think from an applied perspective, what you can do meanwhile with medical imaging technology, so that you can capture, a beating heart with 0.5 millimeter or 1/4 millimeter resolution with now new photon counting detectors, is still, for me, after working even 20 years with that technology, a fascination, because you're looking inside a living human organism, and without any harm you get a crystal clear 3D picture. And for some people who are probably not aware about all these possibilities, this really sounds a bit like science fiction, I think.
Well, yes, in my everyday life I work on ultra-fast electronic processes. So we watch processes of electrons on the timescale where they happen, and ultra-fast means we're working on an attosecond timescale, which is a billionth of a second. So I guess this sounds like science fiction for non-experts, but this is what we are doing every day.
Delays in delivery times. When another supplier calls us saying, hey, I have this problem because this particular piece of optics is made in somewhere in Asia, and I don't get the coating and the materials because this is delayed, I can't really hear it anymore, because planning for bigger scale projects really becomes super difficult. Every day you have to rearrange or change your suppliers, and then the specifications change, and that means you have to do a redesign sometimes on a daily level, and that makes things really hard and not easily to plan. Yeah.
Yeah, I can underline this. 8 to 12 weeks. This is something I can't hear any longer.
That's right.
I would say if you're on the top in science, you are pressed by time, so you still want to be the first to discover something. But here now it's a different pressure to meet deadlines. It's on a commercial point of view. You can lose something, whereas in science you are maybe then not the first one to discover something.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to look at the way of working in a scientific project and in industry project. And there are actually quite some differences. For a scientific project, for example, I think the hardest part is really to get the initial idea and to get the initial funding if you go for a grant. And then actually for the project itself, you actually have a lot of time. You can sit down and really think in detail what you want to do and how you want to solve it. And only when you have the perfect answer, you actually go for it and execute. And in industry, it's somewhere exactly the opposite. I mean, you get into a project and without having actually thought about that and gotten all the details of what is really necessary, you actually start and you actually have a contract, and then suddenly it's all then building up until the very end when you actually have to deliver, and that makes working really different. So there's way more discussions that could have been actually avoided by having a more detailed view on the project at the beginning. If you're working in science, you always think about the very best possible solution. And you completely disregard how feasible this solution is in terms of practicality, like can it be built, can it be funded, is there anybody who would then pay so and so much money for that? And I think this is the biggest lesson I have learned, that you also always have to have this background, thinking process. Does it really make sense for somebody to buy this, or is this actually over-engineered, way too expensive? Is there actually anybody who would be interested in that at all? And from a pure scientific perspective, everything is interested, but that might be a very isolated view on things.
Yes, I would say learning that the optimum solution is maybe not the best solution, right? So this is in small words what Franz has explained.